In this video, we are going to cover some points of detail when it comes to setting up the rack and taking the barbell out of the rack for a squat. You can use these points of detail and these different suggestions for any style of squat, whether it's a high bar squat, a low bar squat, a front squat, sit bar squat, etc., etc. Wherever there's a barbell in the rack, and you're wanting to take that out, and stand with it and perform some form of exercise, not even necessarily squats. These are points of detail that are going to help you a lot. And it's also probably the one aspect of squatting that I see people getting wrong time and time again, regardless of their ability, when it comes to squatting. So the first thing, the most obvious thing, is setting the appropriate rack height. Now, you might seem like this is kind of spoon feeding, but it is a bit. And there's also one point that I see people getting wrong all the time. So when I set up a rack height for a squat, I'm wanting the barbell to be low enough so I can easily clear the J hook. So a J hook is called a J hook because it has a lip up. So I want to be able to clear that lip of the J hook easily without hitting off it or having to stand on my tiptoes to get the bar in and out of the rack. If you're going to be squatting heavy, having to go up on your tiptoes at any point, either unracking or re-racking the barbell, is going to lead to some kind of mistake or some kind of accident somewhere down the line. It's only a matter of time. So, it's also going to change depending on what kind of squat I'm going to do. So if I'm going to do a high bar squat, stand with the bar, I've got more room to play with when I stand up. I could probably get away with going one up on this rack where I have it set currently. If I'm going to take a lower position, so let's go into a low bar squat. I have slightly less clearance. And if I'm going to be squatting heavy, which if I'm taking a lower bar position, or if I'm taking a comp style of squat where I'm going to be going heavy, I need to think about the width of the bar as well. So coming out of this rack at that height for low bar, you might even argue I can even go up one. However, with 280, 300 kilos, 660 pounds, there's going to be a considerable amount of width on the barbell. And that would probably be a good height for me to use because I can walk back and not hit off the rack. So that's the first point, is the bar height. Typically the rule of thumb I use is if the tip of the barbell is just below the start of your trap or the start of your shoulder, then that's a good position. If it's lower or higher than the cap of your delt or the start of your trap, then you need to change your rack height. If you're in a rack that doesn't have a lot of holes to set, then you should think about using the lower setting because it's much better to have the bar too low than to have it too high, because the issues are going to come when you have it too high. So the next point of detail to walking out, or getting the bar out of the rack, is lateral movement when you come out of the rack. Now, I see a lot of people hitting the rack when they come out or when they put the barbell in, and then complain about the width of the rack. Now, the width of the rack can be an issue. However, for most people, the issue is the lack of duty of care they take when walking out. If I'm walking out of weight, I should be trying to be as efficient as possible. So when I get under the bar and stand, I should be letting the barbell settle and myself stabilize. From there, we'll take a couple of steps to try and get out of the rack, but also to try and produce as little lateral movement as possible. if I am just rushing and running back, then the chances of me moving side to side and having one side lower than the other are causing some kind of lack of repeatability in what I'm doing, and clipping off a peg, clipping off a safety, clipping off the side of the rack is pretty big. And other things people do when they unrack, a split stance is no good when it gets heavy, because you don't have the ability to use all of the force production you have to stand up. So having a split stance like this, it's not ideal, less stable. Starting with too close a stance, standing up, again, lack of stability. You probably want to start with your feet closer together when you unwrap the barbell. Then when you squat, you might walk back and widen your stance. It's fairly common for people to do that. Reason being, you're slightly taller, closer stance, so you can feel the rack better. You're also slightly stronger with closer stance when you're taking that dead weight off the bar. Try it out. Try and load up a working weight in a rack, and then try to unrack it with a closer stance, and then try to unrack it with your squat stance. And just feel which feels better. My guess is the closer stance is going to feel better. So you gotta get the rack height correct. You've got to pay attention to what you're doing when you're unracking the bar. We're going to pay attention to 2 points of detail on that next. And we have to take our time. We have to let the bar settle. We have to make sure that we're taking small steps, clearing as minimum clearance of the rack as we can produce, but still have enough room to lift. So if I was squatting at the front of this rack, I'm going to have to walk out back further, because I've got these 2 pins sitting here. So if you're using a combo rack where it has a pair of J hooks for bench press, you're probably going to have to walk back slightly more than you would if you were using something like this. Or if you're using a big commercial rack that has a big fuck off J hooks, you're going to have to clear those J hooks, so you're going to have to come back a bit further. So these are all things that you should be able to come to that conclusion yourself by taking the time necessary to actually walk out in a way that's efficient for your setup, rather than just paying no attention to it, standing up, walking back, and then being annoyed because you keep slapping off the rack because you're not paying fucking attention to what you're doing. So we're going to cover a couple of things now from another angle. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is having your hips, knees, and ankles in a position where you can actually be strong and stable to unrack the barbell. Again, this is a point that never gets coached, but it's really fucking important. So when I step under the bar, what I'm trying to achieve is I want my shoulders and hips directly under the bar, and I want my knees and hips displaced where I can best stand up and unwrap the weight using the least amount of effort, the most efficient way. I'm also wanting to be braced. So if I'm going to unrack and walk back a very heavy weight, and when you become a better lifter, the argument can be is walking the weight out is actually harder than the squat. Especially if you get up to 450, 500 kilos, there is a reason why monoliths exist. So if we skip set first with our upper back, which we'll cover next, get the bar where we want it on our back. The next job is to get the feet under it, set our brace, so tuck the pelvis, set the glutes in a solid position, get our point of balance through midfoot, breathe in, tense, brace, and then stand, and then holding the brace, walk back, and set our feet. We're going to be in a much better position than if you try and unwrap from here, which I see all the time, where we're having to get more in the weight into position, we're not balanced, we're rushing, or even being in here, but then being in a lower back arch, where we're put on the back into a straight position that it doesn't need to be in. Again, small points of detail now we should be applying to every set, it's going to make a big difference when we walk out and set our feet and have our ability to perform the squat, then expending unnecessary energy, walking out like a bag of shite, not paying attention to what we're doing, slapping off the rack, doing stuff that happens when we don't pay attention to what we're doing and we just rush. So attention to detail around these little small areas is actually really fucking important. So the next point of detail is setting a strong upper back. A lot of people will talk about engaging the upper back when you're standing, pulling down on the barbell when you're standing ready for the squat. But by that time, the bar's on your back, it's too fucking late to set. It's like trying to set yourself in a bench press or in a deadlift, trying to set your back in a deadlift when the bar is moving, trying to set yourself in a bench press when you have the bar in your arms and you're ready to start. There's only so much you can do. So we want to start off with best practice before we even take the bar out of the rack. So we should be looking for the position we want the bar on our back, high bar, low bar, wherever it's going to go, up to you. But before we actually take the bar out, we should be pre-tensing. So we take our hands on the bar and pretend we're about to do a bench press where we engage the lats, squeeze everything in, create that shelf, create that tight upper back that's going to allow us to transfer the strength from our hips and our knees into the barbell. The spine and the upper back are the conduit from which we can get transfer. So when I grab the weight, set my feet, before I even get under the barbell, I'm squeezing everything together, shoulders back and down, big chest like I'm about to bench press, and then holding that tension, and then get under the bar. And then I spend time to find the position I want the bar to be in, and then I stand up. And without me having to do anything post hoc after I've brought the barbell out, I'm set in a strong, steady position. Something I don't even have to think about or worry about anymore, because I've already dealt with it in my setup, because I'm paying attention to what the fuck I'm doing. And then a final point of detail before we begin the squat. Once we went through all the stages we have already discussed, it's your feet. So once I'm happy with my position, I'm set, and I'm up, and I walk back. Look down at your fucking feet. Look at where you're going. And then, well, you can look forward if you want when you're walking back, point of preference. But before you squat, look down at your goddamn feet. Set the stance that you want and make sure you are taking the same stance every time. If I try and go by feel of where I want to stand, there's going to be a lot of variance in what I do because I don't have any kind of feedback other than my proprioception and what it feels like. If I look down at the floor, I can use markings on the floor, such as lines in this platform, lines in racks, lines in wooden inserts, so I can set the same stance every time. So make sure before you start the squat, your foundation is where you want it. Look down at your feet, make sure it's the same every time. And there you have it, a 15 or 20 minute video on just getting the fucking bar out of the rack and walking it back. I don't think it's going to take that long. But there are points of detail here that are incredibly important for the repeatability and the quality of your performance of the squat lift. Hopefully you found it useful. Catch you in the next one.